Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening. My name is Mohd Shukri Hajinoor from the Faculty of Economics and Management, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, the National University of Malaysia. Today, we're going to study about a topic called tariff. Basically, tariff is a policy, a measure that is not in line with free trade. Because free trade, what I mean, free of any bid. However, countries will have policies, uh, erecting tariff, import tariff, for example, or export tariff. So we're gonna discuss those today, and also look at the implications, especially welfare implications for the country. So let's go. I'm gonna share the slide. Okay. Tariff as barrier to international trade. Okay, this is the outline. The most important is here, uh, effective rate of protection. How do we calculate that? Whether that nominal rate of protection, what is nominal that you is written there, but actually how much is the real protection? And the second part, most important, is the welfare effects of uh, tariff. Two cases, small nation and large nation. We're going to study that uh, large nations will have the terms of trade effect, which small nation does not have the terms of trade effect. As a result, the welfare effects will be different between the two. So let's go. Okay, tariff. Free trade agreement. Always remember, free trade is good. All countries that are engaged in trade will benefit, and by extension, the world will benefit from free trade. However, free trade policies often meet resistance among companies and workers who face losses in income and jobs because of import competition. Policymakers are torn between global efficiency and the needs to get vote. Let me check my YouTube whether it's on. Yeah, it is. Okay. Tariff, either import tariff or export tariff. As you know, import is, the tariff on imported products. Very common. The most common is import tariff. Less common is export tariff. Import tariff is to protect domestic firms from competition. Export tariff, usually developing nations impose export tariff uh, for a number of reasons. Among them, to get income for the government. Besides other reasons, to protect those materials or commodities which are almost out of deposits, meaning that if you continue to export, we're not gonna have it anymore. But usually the poor nations do not have that consideration very much. They are more into getting money from the government. So protective tariff protects domestic producers from competition, facilitate increasing the output of import competing producers to produce locally products. yes, but now it's only 1% only of US government revenue. Only 1% this tariff, meaning that it's not US government or rich or developed countries do not uh, put tariff because of getting income. No, because of protection. So generates tax revenue by placing tariffs on either imports or export. Now only 1%. Many developing nations, on the other hand, the poor countries, on the other hand, rely on tariffs as a major source of income for the government. So look at this rich country compared with less, developed countries. This as percentage of government income. Look, United States only 1.2% of national government income. Whereas for less developed countries, look at the Bahamas, 43% of the government's income. Okay, the difference. So tariff may be specific, ad valorem, or compound. Specific fixed amount of money per physical unit. For example, 50 cents per unit. Fixed. Relatively easy to apply and administer. The degree of protection varies inversely with changes in import prices. For example, if you have specific tariff of, for example, 15 ringgit per unit of TV, 15 ringgit, that's not good because a poor person will buy a 100 ringgit TV, pays 15 ringgit duty, whereas rich person will buy a 30,000 ringgit TV, only pays 15 ringgit. No, that's not the way. So specific tariff is not going to be good because the degree of protection uh, varies inversely with the changes in import prices. This is not fair. He buys a 30,000 TV, only pays 50 ringgit import duty or import tariff. The other guy, pays the same 15 only, but he buys only 100 or 200 ringgit TV. Provides domestic producers increased protection during recession with falling prices. This is better. Ad valorem, based on value added, primarily used with manufactured goods because can be applied to products with range of great variations. Fixed percentage of the value of imported products. Yes, this is based on the value of the imported products. So, for example, 15% per unit. It's not 15 ringgit per unit. Just like my root example, 15 ringgit, no matter what price of the TV, 50 ringgit. No, this is 15% per unit. So 50% for, 100 ringgit TV, and 50% for 30,000 ringgit TV. So it's fair. Maintains constant degree of protection for domestic producers through the business cycle. Custom valuation is to determine value of imported products. It's very complex, subject to disagreement. I think I'm going to go very fast because I've already made a YouTube video on this chapter. So I'm just going to go very fast without explaining. I will explain only where I need to explain. So you are invited to watch my previous YouTube last year, 1 year ago, Tariff Part 1 and Tariff Part 2. You can find it in the playlist of International Economics. Okay. FOB CIF. Okay. US traditionally uses free on board valuation. Free on board tariff applied to products value as it leaves exporting country. Europe traditionally uses CIF, tariffs levied as a percentage of imported commodities. total value, arrival at final destination. So which one is bigger usually? Is it FOB or CIF? Because CIF includes not only the cost of the product, but also insurance, to transport, insurance, and the freight, pay for the fees for the ship. So all that. So CIF is bigger than FOB. Another one, the last type of tariff is compound tariff, applied to manufactured products composed of raw materials subject to tariffs. Compound tariff has a combination of tariffs. For example, say the first 1,000 units you can import at 15%. Above that, you will be subject to different rates. After, did I say 1,000 units? This is just example, okay? After 1,000 units, different rates will be applied. And different rates will be applied based perhaps on the kilogram of the raw materials. Okay, so combination of two different types of tariff, usually for raw materials. So now, the more important part for us to understand the effective rate of protection. This is, whether the protection given by the nominal, say 30%, is it really 30%? If you calculate, maybe not 30%, maybe only 20%. Okay, nominal versus effective tariff rates. Nominal rate published in the tariff schedule applies to finished products. Effective tariff rate takes into account not only nominal on finished goods, but any tariff applied to imported inputs as well. So this is the formula. E, effective tariff rate, N is the nominal, the published imported input within the whole finished products. A. B is nominal tariff on that imported input. So we divide by 1 minus A. Can you understand 1 minus A? 1 minus that part of imported input, that part of 80%. That's how we get the effective rate of protection. So if tariff on finished product is less than tariff, this is what we're going to conclude. We're going to use this as a example for to understand. If tariff on finished product is less than tariff on imported product, tariff on finished product, nominal, okay, is less than tariff on imported input, effective rate of protection is less than nominal tariff. If tariff on finished product is less than tariff on imported input that goes inside the finished product, effective rate of protection is less, will turn out to be less than nominal, may even be negative. Tariff protects domestic suppliers of raw materials rather than the producers of finished products in that case. If tariff on finished products bigger exceeds and nominal exceeds tariff on imported inputs, effective tariff exceeds nominal tariff. So here the example, suppose Dell adds value by assembling computer from imported components, which can enter without tariff. B, which is B, where's the material? This B, the rate on the imported input. B is 0, no tariff for imported input. Suppose 20% of final value attributed to assembly. 20% goes to assembly, thus remaining 80% reflects value of imported components. So imported components here is 80%. So A is 0.8. A is 0.8. Imported component, 80%. A 0.8. Let price of Dell equals at price of Sony in the global market price is 500. Like that, 500. Okay. So under free trade, Sony desktop can be imported for 500. To meet this price, Dell have to hold its cost to be Sony's price is to Sony's price 500. The concept, the basic idea, Dell cannot have even $1 more expensive than Sony's. If Sony is $500, Dell must sell also at $500. If 501 by logic, I will buy from Sony because cheaper by $1. Put aside other things. Okay, by logic of the market, $500 Sony, $501, Dell, I will buy from Sony. So that's why under free trade, Dell cost is 400. Dell cost cannot be greater than 100 in order to keep it $500 the price to be the same as Dell's price. Suppose now there's under free trade. Now suppose there's no free trade, 10% tariff on imported Sony desktop. Any Sony that comes in to United States, 10% tariff import duty. Whereas no tariff on imported components, only on the final product. So Dell now can go up to the max of 150 only. So domestic price, this is Sony. What happened? Component, assembly, this is equivalent. Nominal tariff, and then import price, because of 10%, import price now 550. So Sony can only play around with the cost. However, Dell can only play around until 150 to be able to make sure to keep it within the same price as 550. By logic of the market, if 551 here, Dell, people will not buy from Dell. 551, people will still buy from Sony. So 150 is the max amount of assembly cost and still meet the 500 price. Dell's assembly cost rise 50% above what would have been under the free trade. So now we calculate effective rate of protection. This is the formula again. Nominal, this is N, nominal minus 80%, but 0% on the rate on the imported component, divide by 1 minus that percent of imported component. So that gives us 50%, allows 50% increase in domestic production activities. So protection of 50%. So let's compare with now not only, there's also 5% on imported components. Previously, no tariff on imported components. Now, 5% tariff on imported components. So now 0.1 nominal minus this, A, AB. A is 0.8%. Imported component is 80% of the final product. Oh, here. I read that here. 5% tariff on imported component. So now 30% reduced level of protection. Oh, first, I forgot. Nominal says only 10%, okay? 10% tariff, nominal. But effective is not 10%, 50%. So now you must understand the difference between nominal and effective. Nominal says only 10%, but actually the effective rate of protection is 50%. Now let's look. There was no imported tariff, no tariff on imported components. What happened when there is also tariff on imported components? Imported component that goes inside that product. Reduced level of protection. So reduce. So conclusion, when tariff on finished products, nominal, is bigger than tariff on imported components, B, effective rate of protection is greater than nominal. When tariff on finished product is higher. So effective rate of protection is higher. When tariff on finished products is less than tariff on imported components that goes inside the finished product, effective rate of protection is lower than the nominal, than the 10%. So it depends all on, this is, I'm not saying 10%, just that was just example. But this is the idea. When finished products nominal is lower, here we use it a 5% only. Suppose you have tariff on imported components, 10% tariff on finished product, but 30% on components. So this will become very low protection and even can be negative. That's the idea. So next, tariff escalation. This is what happened when tariff globally in the world today, not just today, has been going around. The more processed the products, the higher the rate of tariff. Tariff escalate. Processed goods have higher import tariffs. Raw materials often imported at zero or low tariff rates. Nominal effective protection increases at each stage of production. This will be disadvantage for the less developed or poor countries, because poor countries export raw materials. But whereas the more processed, the more processed as stage, the rate of tariff is getting higher and higher. That is inhibiting, stopping the poor countries or less developed countries from getting into the manufacturing, into the manufacturing of or processing of these raw materials. So tariff escalation has been negatively impacting less developed countries. Always the rich countries, developed countries have an advantage because of the more processed the products, the more processed, no more raw material, the higher the tariff compared with the non-processed, the raw goods. So here, primary goods. Processed products, higher. Industrial products, higher when it's processed, okay, than primary. Also saying, okay, Key aspect global economy. I don't want to explain more because you can watch my videos. Offshore. Okay. Tax avoidance. Legal utilization of tariff system to own advantage. You know, you do it according to the law to avoid tariff. However, tax evasion is not legal. Avoid tariff, you know, you can do within the terms and conditions provided by the tariff law, and you follow. For example, if you give charity, you can deduct from your tax. Yeah, give charity to avoid paying tax, and that's legal. But tax evasion is illegal because, for example, you falsify your declaration of your product. You know, evading tariff means such as smuggling, fraud strips of wagon to avoid high tariff. Fraud strips is wagon. You know, car, yeah, wagon and non-wagon. That's one. I was trying to explain car. If sliding door, certain countries, you know, the door open like this compared with a sliding door has higher tariff. So stop manufacturing sliding door vehicle. Ford strips is wagon. Okay. Postponing import tariffs. One of them is say bonded warehouse, just postpone, but later on must pay. So under US tariff law, duty-able imports can be brought into US, temporarily left bonded warehouse duty-free for up to 5 years. Owners of warehouse must be bonded, bonding company. So this is one part of the, you know, not important. Foreign trade zone also, FTZ. In Malaysia, there's FTZ, Sunway, in Penang, FTZ can bring in products from overseas, no tax, no import duty. But once you leave that FTZ, you must pay the duty. Tariff impacts and overview. Taxes on import tariffs makes item more expensive to consumers and reduce demands. Buyers pay more for US made goods than they would have bought under free trade. Job loss in retail. I'm going to go quickly because more important is to look at the graph. Job loss in retail, transport sector that import foreign made goods. Job loss in any domestic industry that suffers retaliatory tariffs. Additional cost of imported inputs passed on consumer through goods and services that use such inputs. So when we want to discuss the welfare, we look at the two parts: consumer welfare, consumer surplus, and producer surplus. So let's go straight to the graph. Here, consumer surplus. Any area here. This is the, suppose C is the selling, the equilibrium price, the equilibrium price and the quantity C. So any point under the demand curve and bordered by this price line, price 2, this is the consumer surplus. On the other hand, same, this is the same 2 and 4. Any area above the supply curve but bounded by the price is the producer surplus. Actually, we can put together the two. We can put together the two to become I hope you can see. I put together. On the top is consumer surplus. At the bottom is producer surplus. Can overlap the two, become one. Okay, without flipping, no flipping, just overlap. So now the most important part, welfare effects. A small nation first, and then next large nation. Small nation involves very small portion of the world market. So with small nation, the supply curve of the world is horizontal, because this country is a small country. It does not have the power, or it does not affect total supply of the world, because it's a small country. So this is before the tariff. Before the tariff, suppose this is free trade. This is autarky. Okay, this is free trade. As domestic D, world. Okay, this is free trade. During free trade, this small country demand, consume 80, supply, produce only 20. So 60 is imports. Consume 80, but produce only 20. Produce only 20, consume 80. So 60 must come from imports. So this is import of this small country. Now, with tariff, what happens if this country imposes a fixed tariff of T? So goes up by T. So here the sign should be SDW, or you can say SD domestic this country, if I'm very careful, SD domestic of this country plus rest of the world, because you cannot count this country two times inside the world. D plus ROW, rest of the world. Here, I want to be more careful. SD plus ROW or W, whatever, acceptable, but more careful, SD plus ROW plus T is a higher T, not here, not at the bottom. T, suppose SDW here is one person, T is another person, meaning that the T should be the higher T, not the short T. Should be a tall T, because T is another person. Okay, now with the T, the first impact is on the consumer. Oh, I forgot. This is the consumer surplus during the free trade. Consumer surplus, the whole area. Remember? Consumer surplus. Consumer surplus. The whole area here. Area of G, A, B, C, D. The whole area. Consumer surplus. Whereas producer surplus is only here. Small. Now, with tariff, first thing, price of this good will go up from 8,000 to 9,000. And not only that, the quantity of import will reduce. This demand curve. So now consume 60, supply curve now produce only 40. So 20 is only now import, compared with previously 60. Imports was 60 units, now only 20 units. So number one, what happened after tariff? With tariff, prices go up. As a result, quantity of imports reduces, or quantity of import decreases. So we are here. So now, the welfare effect, there's a loss on the consumer surplus, the loss of A, B, C, D. A is gone, B, C, D. Okay. But A is now, A now becomes part of the producer surplus. So A actually is a redistributive effect from consumers to producer, still going within the country, from consumer to producer. Now producers plus become bigger. B is the protective tariff. It's actually uh, a loss to the economy, to the society, because this B, the area B, is the increase in production from 20 to 40 production in that country at a higher cost, which is inefficient. So due to increase of inefficient output at higher cost. Yes, more output from 20 to 40, but at a higher cost, which is inefficient. So we're gonna study here. B is one part of the dead weight loss, because you're gonna see B is going to where? You're gonna find out immediately after this. So C is the revenue effect that is collected by the government for the import. Amount of import is 20, 40 to 60 the import, 20 multiplied by the price, total price up. The price went up from 8,000 to 9,000, 1,000 ringgit or dollar price, $1,000 here, 1,000 multiplied by the quantity of imports, 20. So you can calculate amount of revenue going to the government pockets. 20 quantities, 20 times 1,000. Okay. D is the consumption effect, the reduced consumption in this country because of higher price, because of duty, because of import duty. Reduced in consumption from 80 to 60. So this is the consumption effect. Now, how do we know that B and D is the dead weight loss? Dead weight loss. Let's consider B. B is part of A, B, C, D that consumer has lost. But A goes to producer, no problem. But B goes to where? I cannot even answer until today. It goes to the inefficiency. My root way of saying to my students, it vanishes to, in Malay, hantu, ghost. That's my root way of saying hantu, in English, ghost. B, where does it go? A goes to producer. B doesn't go anywhere. So B is a dead weight loss due to inefficient production. C, no problem. C, the consumer lost but goes to the government, still within the country. D is also goes to where? Didn't go to the government, doesn't go to producer, doesn't go to anybody, go to ghost. Don't quote that. That's my way of, teaching only. Vanishes to going to the ghost. No, there's no ghost. No. Basically, this is because of inefficiency. Inefficient, C, in terms of the consumption, because of artificially high price brought about by the tariff. The price is artificially high, so people do not consume as before. So less consumption. So D is another dead weight loss. So B and D is the dead weight loss, welfare loss to the country. Both areas vanish, not transferred to anyone. So small nation, tariffs impact on welfare, consumer surplus fall, additional tax revenues, benefits domestic producers, waste of resources, revenue effect, already explained that one, consumption and deadweight loss, already explained. Yeah, we have to get to the conclusion, which not mentioned here. The conclusion is that in a small nation, tariff will be welfare decreasing for that country, for a small nation. Welfare decreasing because of the existence of the two here, deadweight loss, B and D. This is the deadweight loss. Deadweight loss means loss of welfare to the society. Society paying more prices for the goods in the country, and yet they consume only, less than before. So deadweight loss. Small nation. Now, large nation. Pardon me. Tariffs may increase national welfare, may increase when imposed by importing nation of large enough that changes the quantity of imports that can influence the world price. US imposes tariff on automobile imports. It's a large country. Prices increase for American consumers. Quantity demanded decreases. Effect shared between US consumers who pay higher prices and Japanese firms which receive lower price than under free trade. Terms of trade improves for US at Japan's expense, actually. Let's look. So we have same like distributive effect, consumption effect, productive effect, revenue effect. Yes, this is the part that we have to explain. Revenue effect has two parts because there's a domestic revenue effect, area C. Now we're going to look at the graph, area C, and the terms of trade effect, area E, here. So in the case of small nation, there is no E, only C. In the case of large nation, there is E. And yet, the shape of the supply curve has some some gradients. Gradients, slopes. Okay, slopes. Because why? The supply of the world curve is sloping because this is a large country. Large country can have big influence on the total supply of the world. Whereas a small nation, supply of the world is flat, horizontal, because small country does not have influence on the total supply of the world. Whereas large country has influence on the total supply of the world. That's why there's a sloping, not horizontal, supply of the world. So again, my correction, I'm correcting the how the notation for the graph. SW plus ROW, SW plus ROW plus the tall T. So let's begin with this is autarky. Okay, begins free trade. This is free trade. The point of free trade, okay, is domestic demand and supply of the world. F is free trade. Consume demand, consume 110 at the price of 8,000. Consume stop here. This is the supply. This is the demand. Consume, take this 9, stop here, demand. So consume 30, supply 30, produce 30. So consume 110, consume, demand, but produce only 30. So 80 is imports. 80 import. okay, under free trade, 8,000 the price. Now, suppose this country, large country, imposes a fixed or specific tariff T, goes up to here. So now, this is the new line. The first to look is the demand curve. Okay, this is the consumption. You see, number one, what happened? Oh, I forgot again. This is during the free trade. This is the welfare, consumer surplus. Let's go back to free trade. Consumer surplus during free trade, all this area. Whereas producer surplus, under here. Big consumer surplus. Now, with tariff. Here is the point. So, with the demand, so 90 is consumption. Take this line to the left and stop, because you meet the supply curve. So this is the production, 50. So produce 50 but consume 90. 40 is imports. You see, number one, what happened when tariff price go up from 8,000 to 9,000, 8,800 goes up, prices go up, and consumption goes down. Of course, the production goes up. But what is more important to look here, the imports goes down. Now only 40 compared with previously 80. Now 40 only import. So this is what we have here. So consumer surplus is here now. Consumer has lost A, B, C, D. Welfare effect, we will start discussing. A, B, C, D, no problem. A goes to the producer, no problem, stay with the country. B, again, the ghost vanishes. Inefficient production, higher production, 30 to 50, just because of tariff. Prices go up. Local producer wants to produce more because can sell at higher price. But that higher price is actually inefficient production. So B goes to where? Didn't go to producer, didn't go to anywhere. To nobody. B is one part of the deadweight loss. C goes to the government. Government collected 40 units times the price, 800. You can calculate this. Okay. D, same. D doesn't go to nobody. Another deadweight loss, because this is inefficient consumption. Consumption has reduced 110 to 90. Reduced because of artificially high prices because of tariff. So now, clear on this, the same. What about E? E exists here. Okay. C is clear, goes to the government. E exists here because if this is 90, the consumption in that country, because of tariff, foreign producer can sell at this price. At this quantity, can supply this at this world price. This is world price. This is domestic price with the tariff. This is, people from other country, this is the companies from other countries, this is the international price for them. At this quantity, international price is 7,900 only. So this is actually, E is the area collected by the government in terms of lower prices supplied by the foreign producers. So it's actually, E comes from foreign countries, foreign producers. So this is a income for the country that goes to the government. This part of C comes from the people in that country who imports. In Malay, we call the rakyat. C, the rakyat, the people of that country who imports. E is coming from overseas, from foreign producers or manufacturers or exporters, foreign countries. So E, we call it the terms of trade effect. E does not exist in the case of small nation. E exists in the large nation. So whether welfare effect for the large country, large nation, will have positive or negative or no change depends on the difference between the deadweight loss, the B and D deadweight loss. If E that comes from outside of the country in terms of the foreign producers willing to sell lower prices, this 7,000. E is coming from outside of the country. If E is greater than deadweight loss, so welfare effect will increase, go up for the country. Whereas if they are the same, so no change. If E is small, the area, you can calculate, okay? Calculate, multiply the area. If E is smaller than B plus D, the two goes, so welfare will diminish. So as a conclusion, because Maghrib time now are done, I'm going to have to stop here. We continue another time. Conclusion, small nation, always welfare decreasing. Will decrease the welfare of the country because of tariff. Tariff will decrease the welfare of the small nation. But with large nation, because of there is terms of trade effect, that other countries or countries contribute to this E. So welfare effect really depends on the difference between the deadweight loss and the terms of trade effect. So clearly negative for small country, but for small nation, but for large nation, it depends on this. It is ambiguous. It depends on the difference between the terms of trade effect E compared with the deadweight loss B plus D. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum and very good evening.